Alrighty. We begin.
Can you go into the present mode so it pops up on the screen?
From what I can see, I am in present mode. So if you're not seeing that, then there is something not correct.
Yeah, it looks like it's on the edit screen.
Yeah, if I click start presentation, if I click slideshow from beginning, did it go into the slides?
No, nothing's changed yet.
Okay, because I'm seeing the slides. I don't know what you're seeing. I can't. Frustrating. Are we able to present just from here?
Yeah, I just wasn't sure how we wanted to do it.
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay. All right, so then we'll start now. It is estimated that 9.2 million people around the world use heroin. We are here to inform you of our group survey regarding the local problem of heroin addiction. My name is Ashley, and we also have Abigail, and we will be discussing how we picked our problem, the outside research we used, the construction of our interview guide, the construction of our actual survey, how we administered the survey, and then how we coded, tabulated, and analyzed the results of our survey. So starting with how we selected our topic, we all agreed on a topic pretty easily. We had a few ideas in mind, and then I mentioned a previous project in which we had discussed heroin addiction, and everybody seemed to be interested in that. We all knew that this was a current issue that needed discussed, so it really wasn't something that we had much debate about. And then we communicated through text, email, and video chat, mainly through text and email. I think the only other video chat we had was the initial discussion of the problem. And then we each did our own research and then shared that with the group. So again, we did that through text and email. Okay. Are you able to move it to the next slide?
I have moved it to the next slide. I think that maybe on your half of the video it might just be behind. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. All I see is the first.
I've moved it to outside research.
No.
Great.
Hey, I'm not really sure how to
I'm gonna try one thing real fast. I'm gonna hit stop sharing. And I'm going to go back in and reshare again.
Okay.
Do you see it?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay. Do you want to try moving to the next slide to see if it'll work this time, or?
Oh, do you not see outside research?
I see it, but I just want to make sure the problem's fixed before.
Okay. Construction of interview guide?
No, it's still only showing outside research.
Gosh darn it. Okay, we'll just go back and forth between each.
Okay.
That'll work.
Okay, so we'll resume with our first topic of outside research, which was the primary users. We discovered that most heroin users are middle-class white males under the age of 30. I know that this kind of surprised me because this isn't who you would necessarily think would be a targeted user. I think a lot of us assume that it comes from a lower class, lower income, so that was kind of surprising. And I also thought that the age range would be a little bit higher than 30, maybe like under 40 years. And then we also discovered that previous addictions to prescription painkillers, alcohol, and other drugs can be an effect. So those who had previous addictions are more likely to become addicted to heroin in the future. And then another thing we researched was treatment options, and we found out that rehabilitation centers are a good way for treatment, and then finding alternatives to opioids, and then raising more awareness is something that definitely can be done.
Oops, that is the wrong PowerPoint. Because I have 7 different PowerPoints open at once. It's been a long week.
I get it.
Construction of survey?
Okay, yes. So then oh wait, was interview guide next?
Yeah. We skipped
interview guide.
Did we skip construction of interview guide?
Yes.
Okay, I'll go back to that.
Thank you.
That's what went wrong. I get it. Sure. There we go.
Okay, so to construct the interview guide, first we came up with topics and subtopics. Our topics were contributing factors, who was at risk, and then rehabilitation efforts. These subtopics were previous addiction, lack of knowledge, and at-risk individuals, and then class, gender, race, age, and then rehab centers, awareness, prevention, and more resources. And then after coming up with those topics and subtopics, we realized that we need to do more research to create strong questions for our survey.
Construction of survey. And sure. Getting the hang of this now.
So then to construct the survey, we each created questions on our own. We all created 7 questions each in case anybody sent in the same question twice or a similar question twice. And then we all created different types of questions so that we would have some variety in our survey. It wasn't just the same yes or no question the whole way down. After that, we collaborated to narrow down questions. We eliminated any repeat questions, like I mentioned before. And then we chose the strongest questions so that our survey would get the intended results. And then we arranged the questions in a way that made sense. And the best way to put it, we put similar questions together and then allowed them to flow from one topic to another. So we started with questioning about the demographic, and then we went into rehabilitation, and then how to educate and raise more awareness.
All right. So on to administration of the survey. After we had the survey completed, everybody received it. Ashley had sent it out to everybody. We each sent it to about 6 or 7 people. We tried to survey anybody we could get, a variety of age, race, gender. Me personally, I put a thing out on Facebook and said, who knows about this, who wants to help? And we tried to figure out how to get in contact with one another, either through doing in-person talks, over email, over video, any way that we could get it to work. One of the things that we tried to do was help the participants be more open and honest with their answers by allowing them to know that anything that they would say in the interview was confidential. We needed their name and their number for the sake of proving that we were actually talking to a real person. But we wanted to allow them to allow us to get really good answers by allowing them to feel like that talking to us was kind of like a safe space. All right, on to the next. Do you see coding, tabulation, and analysis?
Yes.
Perfect. So for analyzing the surveys that we had, we all had the one paper with all the questions, and we input the answers to those questions in, so we had kind of an organized way of looking through all of the responses. And I know that for me personally, what I tried to do was compare each of the answers that I received. So for reviewing the interviews, you kind of like go back, you reread everything that you had received, and you compare the answers to the other interviewees, what they said, see what lines up, see what might be different. And a lot of the people that personally I interviewed, I had already known them. I had known one of the women that I had interviewed specifically was the director of a show about the opioid epidemic, and so she had a very a very deep knowledge of it. So I would look at her answers differently by comparison to other people who were going off of experience and less of research. So this played into a factor of analyzing what we received, but everybody did a similar thing where they kind of gathered the responses in one place and uploaded them so we could all see each other's research. We tried to make a Google Drive work, but I've lost the Google Drive somewhere within my other 1,000 Google Drives. I'm sure someone else has it. All right, on to the conclusion. Wait, I gotta stop sharing first. Figuring out this pattern slowly. So yes, after looking at all of the tabulation that we've done, collecting all of the research together, all the interview answers together, we can agree that the heroin addictions and the opioid crisis is a problem in Youngstown. A lot of people agree that it's a problem in Youngstown. It's widespread enough that everybody that you interview can say, yes, there is an issue. The research that we did, the surveys that we did, they show that the epidemic is very real. The epidemic is very evident. And so the question that we kind of go into further research with it is what we think we should do. We touched a little bit on, in the interviews, we touched a little bit on what solutions there are and what solutions seem to be the best, such as the rehabilitation centers and like how much those are doing. There's other like new science on different medical alternatives, and you know what that would do. But looking at the implementation of those and looking at how that would move on is kind of like a next step going out of this. So looking at our presentation all together, as a group, we went over the setting up the topic together, doing all the outside research, constructing the interview guide and the survey, and we took a week or two to do the surveys one-on-one. Obviously, we don't have testimonies from everybody to say how that interview process went. On my side, it went pretty good. How about you, Ashley?
Yeah, on my side, it went pretty well. Everybody had very similar answers, so that made it easy. And then I had a few people who, about the rehabilitation part, they didn't know enough about the subject to really feel confident in answering my question. So I didn't really know how to take that, but I kind of just told them that I guess I would rather them tell me they're unsure than make up some answer because that would skew the results in a way that I didn't want them to be. So otherwise, it went pretty well.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I had similar respondents, and I feel the exact same way about that. Okay, well, I think that is our presentation.
Yep.
Fantastic.